One situation that comes up often for those of us who are foster parents or step parents is when the child says, well, that's not the rule at my house. My mom doesn't make me do it that way. Why should I have to do it that way here? It's a problem that is very common, and there's really no simple solution. There are a few principles, however, that we can use in looking at and sort of deciding the appropriate response when a child tells us that. The first principle is to understand that what they're saying may not be what they mean. They may not even know what it is they mean, depending on their age and developmental stage. It may be, for example, that when they're saying, I don't like going to bed this early, what they mean or what they're thinking in their mind is, I don't want to be here, or I don't want you telling me what to do, or this whole situation is just wrong and I'm having trouble adjusting to it. Now, if we think there's some underlying message, we can't pull it out and deal with it directly. We have to deal with it indirectly the way they present it to us. And we have to say things such as, I know it's difficult keeping up with different rules at different places. Or in the case of a foster child, I know it's really difficult moving to a new place and adjusting to new rules. We need to acknowledge their concern. That has to be the first step. Then the other principles can come into play. The next principle is make sure that if you're a step parent, that the biological parent is taking the lead on the house rules. And make sure that the two of you agree with each other, at least in front of the kids. And that may mean that you have to compromise a little bit. Now, of course, you never compromise on safety issues, but you may need to compromise on other things. And that does not come naturally to me. I assume that my husband is a rational, intelligent, caring person, is going to agree with me. And when that doesn't happen, it sort of takes me aback. And I'm a lawyer. I am not designed to back down and make compromises. But our kids need the agreement from their biological parent and their step parent more than they need any particular rule. Again, safety and basic respect issues or exceptions. But if it's your normal, average kind of issue, curfew, going out with friends, how they spend their free time, then no rule is as important as agreeing with your partner or spouse on what the rule is. And then, again, the biological parent of the child needs to take lead on that, because until your stepkids get used to you and give you permission to tell them what to do, at least in their minds, give you permission, then they're going to naturally look to their biological parent for the rules. That's just hardwired, and you are not going to be able to change it, and if you try, it's just going to make you miserable. The next principle is do not criticize their other biological parent. If you're the stepmother or stepfather, do not criticize your biological counterpart. Do not say, well, they should be making you follow these rules because that's the right rule. And in fact, I would even go so far as to say, be very careful with your explanations, because the kids are automatically in their mind comparing two sets of rules. And if you say, we believe that it's best for you because of A, B, and C, they may hear an implicit criticism of, well, anyone who doesn't have this rule, i.e. your biological mom, doesn't care about A, B, and C. Now, you're not saying that, but what we say is not always what kids hear. So Sometimes, again, depending on the child's age, it just doesn't work to try to explain things. You just need to say, we have found these rules work best for this house. And that's not something that they can argue with very easily. It's not your rule, it's just a house rule. The next principle is pick your battles. If it's, again, a safety rule, those you can't compromise on. But if it's your normal average rule of going out with friends or curfew or what time they go to bed, just decide if the rule is worth the conflict that it's causing. And, it's not the end of the world if they stay up half an hour later. It's not the end of the world if they don't quite make their curfew. So, again, just pick your battles and only fight the big ones. The final principle is, if it is an important rule or it is a safety rule, then stand your ground. And just simply tell them, I understand, I know it's hard, and I love you, and these are the house rules here. Eventually, if you're consistent enough and you're putting enough into the relationship with love and concern, and you and your spouse are giving the same message and not leaving any daylight for kids to come in like every child does and play one against the other. If all of those are in place, then eventually the kids will figure out that these are the house rules. They're perfectly capable of understanding the difference between different rules, different places. Don't worry about confusing them. And I've heard people worry about kids being confused when they move one to the other. They're not confused because children understand the difference between what they can get away with at school and what they can do at home. They understand the difference between the rules that parents have and the rules that grandparents have. That's a skill they pick up early. So they're not confused. They may not like it, they may be saying something else, but they can figure it out, and with enough consistency, they will start following it.